Hello and welcome to Gorilla and the Geek, the podcast for sweaty nerds by sweaty nerds. My name is Kyle from Geeks Weekly, and I'm joined, as always, by my good pal John the Ginger Gorilla. John, how you doing on this very, very brick Saturday?
Bro, it is so cold out, but I've realized one thing. Waking up right away in the morning, going outside and it being cold, or waking up and going outside like midday, your body, like when your body's more awake, it's more apt to deal with the cold. Like every morning when I wake up to go work out, I have to like go to my parents, go to the basement, blah, blah, right? But going outside, it's like my body doesn't know how to handle it yet. Like it's not awake. So it's like, I can't deal with this. This is the worst thing ever. But midday, it's just like, it's still cold, but your body's like, I can figure this out. So it's just so strange how the body works.
I'll say this. For me, I'm kind of happy I have to wear a mask right now because it helps when we're out there, especially with this wind chill. I think it's like the low is 16 today, and that's just not my vibe.
Yeah, I think the real feel was negative again. Gross. Welcome to New Jersey. Haha.
And speaking of feeling real, there's a lot of strange feelings going on within the show that we are going to discuss this week. And I mean, if you're looking at a couple things, number one, the podcast title and the time stamp of the podcast, you'll think to yourself, the show isn't over. Why are they talking about it? And also, why isn't this pod the usual length or whatever in case it doesn't go as long? Well, we wanted to do a essentially mid-season check-in about the show WandaVision. And it's because a couple of interesting conversations have been happening between myself and John, as well as our other friends who we make content with usually. And I think this show lends itself to a lot of interesting conversations about television. But then yesterday comes and it's like the bombshell episode so far of the season. And it's like, well, we kind of have to talk about that as well.
1 second. Just real quick, guys. If you normally watch us and this is your first episode, we are gonna go full spoilers here. So if you haven't caught up, one, do it. Two, you pause and come back.
Yeah, in case you haven't watched the show at all. I mean, they're quick 20-something minute
Oh
episodes.
God, I love it. I love. No, we said it in the last podcast we did with Cobra Kai, and now we have WandaVision, bro. I love shorter episodes. It makes you feel like you get a lot done. You feel like, and it's just so digestible. Especially without commercial breaks or anything. Like it's, man, I love it. I mean, I love some good long form also, right? But for like short, more fun shows, that half hour mark, 25-minute mark, woo, you can't beat it.
Yeah, it genuinely makes a difference. I love being able to watch a show for a pod uh, during breakfast, and not have it take up most of my day. So, in case anyone doesn't know, and they're still going to listen to this, number one, thank you. But number two, WandaVision is a Disney Plus miniseries taking place within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It stars Wanda Maximoff, and I think her name is Maximoff. I think it's how you pronounce it. I could be
Yeah, I
wrong,
think so.
but regardless, actually, Maximoff is correct. And her, can we call him her partner? Because I don't know if they got married.
Well, funny you say that. I think in the first episode or whatever, they like get
Yeah,
it doesn't end with
yes,
them going like, I do when they make the rings out of nothing.
yes.
So
Good point. So her husband, Vision, again, full spoilers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe coming. If you didn't know, Vision died back in like 2018 in Avengers Infinity War when Thanos literally ripped his brain out of his head, basically.
still traumatized.
Well, the traumatization gets worse with this
Oh
episode,
yeah,
John.
that is true.
um,
Boy, it
and
doesn't.
it's kind of an Elseworlds type of vibe in terms of things not being what they usually are. It has some Black Mirror weirdness going on, or for any of the older listeners out there, or people like myself who love older content, Twilight Zone vibes. It starts off in a 1960s/50 style
I think it's
sitcom.
50s because I think the way they're doing it, which I actually looked up right before this. So the first episode is 50s, then it goes 60s, 70s. This one we didn't really have anything to base it off of because there was nothing. Um, so then I think it's
Next
gonna
episode
go
is definitely the 80s.
80s, which then that them taking that break lines it up perfectly because then if episode 6 is the 90s, then we could go to the aughts and then the tens, and then the last episode would bring us up perfectly with current date and time. So it's
Yeah,
almost like she's coming back to, I mean, spoiler alert, maybe she's coming back to reality as it's like
maybe. I don't think it's a
the
spoiler
season
because you
goes
don't
on.
know.
Yeah, I know. But
Um, but yeah, so it takes place in past decades. There's laugh tracks. There's situations that really only seem appropriate for that time period.
mhm.
And I kind of wanted to start right there. You know, you go from the MCU being this like the penultimate comic book movie experience to then coming to this show, and the first two episodes premiered together, correct?
Yeah.
And the first two episodes being a 50s and then 60s style sitcom with genuinely zero action
Mhm.
and a couple of moments of
Of
their
like magic,
superpowers being
yeah.
sprinkled in.
It it was like a shock to the system. Like
Yeah.
if you came into this not really being a huge fan of Marvel, like maybe you say you watch the movies and you're like, I like it, I'm just gonna check it out. I have Disney Plus, I'm gonna check it out. I don't know if you'd be sold, right? Now both of us obviously sweaty nerds, as some of you may know. So no matter what this was, even if the whole season was absolute garbage, we'd probably still end up watching all of it through. So then we could say it's absolute garbage, right? But now I'm not saying that's the case, but I mean, if you just look at IMDb and the ratings for the first 4 episodes, it goes 7.5, 7.9, 8.4, 9.1. So it kind of sums up how I think most people feel about those first 2 episodes and how it was just like, I'm not saying they're bad, right? But it just catches you off guard. And when you're so hyped, it's been so long that they've been teasing these Marvel series, the Marvel content, the shows. The only taste of Disney television that we got put out was Mando season 1 and 2, which took forever. I was just so excited to get some more Disney Plus TV. And then they give you these 2 episodes, and I remember the first day we talked about it, we were all just like, it was good. I wouldn't say it was bad, but it like what was it like what
Yeah,
was it?
I personally was starting to get a little bit worried at the third episode mark. And here's why. And here's one of the big cruxes of the conversations that we're going to have today. At what point do you give up on a show?
Mm,
And I want to ask you this directly because I'm about to answer it. For
mm.
me, if I'm not hooked by the third episode, I'm usually probably going to be out. Unless it's
Yeah,
I'm recording content based on it. You got me for 3 weeks. And if you can't get me before the month mark, you're probably not going to get me for the show.
yeah.
What about you?
I, I mean, for me it depends. Like it's a serious like it depends type of thing, and I'll tell you why. For something that I have background to, right? So for instance, we have the Marvel movies to back this up. We have um this is a Kevin Feige, right? He's doing this?
Feige, yeah.
Feige. So we know what he can do. So with those first couple episodes, I always had in the back of my mind, it's okay, it's building. It's building. It's okay, it's building, right? Um I don't know how much more building I could have taken. Um this building may have still been a little too long. Uh because it's an hour and a half of building. Pretty much. I mean, episode 3 we start getting a little more hectic and a little more weirdness going on. So
Things
they
get
did ramp it up.
interesting
Yeah, I think
in the third.
episode 3 I was like, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I see even more potential, right? But still that first hour of just building. Now, if you think of it in a sense, if these were hour-long episodes, it would have been one episode that was building. So, in that sense, not too bad. But at the same time, with the way they broke it up, releasing the first 2 episodes and then one single episode for the next 2 weeks, right? Like that kind of it messes with your head and it just kind of made me a little nervous. But for some shows, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes if you don't hook me on the first episode, I'm like, I'm not doing this. It depends. If there's nothing there, like I'm just like, I don't see the point. Sometimes I don't get invested. sometimes I need to be convinced from like you. I mean, I think it was
Well, I mean,
My Hero that you told me to watch. I watched like the first episode and I was like, I just don't know if I could do it. And you were like, stick it out. And now I'm like, am I getting a tattoo or not? What are we doing here? We're looking at anime tattoo artists, and I'm like, these are sick.
yeah. Well, but in all fairness to you, some of the best television shows of all time have banger first episodes. One
That's
of the
true.
best pilots I've ever seen is for a show that I consider to be within at least a pantheon of all time greats, Breaking Bad. The first episode of Breaking Bad to me is a great example of how to hook someone onto something within the first 30 seconds. Show starts off with Walt in his undies in the desert, and you're like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm in. This seems like a blast. And it sets you up for the show going forward. Other shows do need some time to build.
Yes. But going back to, I think we've also been spoiled with a lot of shows we've talked about. The Boys. First scene, someone blows up, basically.
Yes, someone gets obliterated.
What was the other one? They're the ones fighting Nazis. I can't remember the
Oh,
name.
is it Hunters?
Hunters or something. Yeah,
Is
something
that
like
what
that,
it's
right?
called?
It's the Amazon Prime. We've talked
One
about
second.
it.
Let
New
me.
season should be coming out
Hunters.
relatively soon, hopefully.
Hunters confirmed.
I don't know. I forgot about that show, to be honest. But I mean, I'm not forget, but even that first scene of that show starts off with a bang. Like we've been spoiled with new shows and starting off crazy. I just started we watched Punkbox and I watched the first season of Ozarks, and the first episode, it hooks you. It hooks you. And I'm so used to just being that hook in the first episode. Just give me that hook, right? Even Cobra Kai, the first episode I finished, I was like, this is fun. Like, let's keep going. Like, it feels good. So with this, it was like, what's going on? And I can't necessarily, like, with what they're trying to pull off and being different. I mean, we asked for this, Kyle. We asked for this. We literally had a podcast about how Marvel, we want them to try new things now. And this is new and this is different, right? With a lot of other things coming out too. With the Loki sounds like it's going to be different too. Like, I like these different ideas that they're playing with and mixing in with the TV series. And I hope by the end of this season, the show, right, that we don't even remember those first 2 episodes being slow, right? I hope we just remember it as like, they built, and these next, I mean, I'm going to count these episode 3 and 4 as successes, right? 4 definitely a success. Let's say 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, just keep the bangers coming. We won't even think about those first 2 episodes as being slow.
So here would be my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just to defend episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Do you think the moments within episodes 1 and 2 were exciting enough to make you, if you ever rewatch a show, are you going to skip those 2 episodes or are you going to watch them both back? Because there is at least one moment in each one where I went, what's happening right now? This is awful.
Yeah.
But and then awful in like a good way. Like, oh my God, why am I seeing this?
Yeah. But I also think they were fun. Like, I enjoyed them because there was jokes. There was like, it paid homage to the TV shows at the time. So that was a lot of fun. And I mean, it made you feel like it. They literally changed the aspect ratio of the screens to fit
throughout the episode sometimes.
Yeah,
it's
they did it to fit the TV of that time that they were trying to mimic. So I enjoyed that. It was fun in that sense. But for me, and I mean, think about what we left off with. We left off with possibly the greatest end to the greatest arc of movies in history, and then the greatest end to any arc of movies in history. I mean, and then you come into this, and it's the next little taste that we get is like this slow little creep of like, what's going on? You're gonna be on your edge and be like, come on. I think going into it knowing what to expect, which I kind of did too because everybody else watched it, you're not gonna be like, this is so slow, this is boring, what are they doing?
Do you think this show would have been helped by Black Widow coming out last year like it was supposed to?
I don't know because I don't know. I don't even know if I really care about that movie, to be honest.
Well, I ask that because it's no longer the first taste of the MCU since
That's
Endgame.
true. That is true. I think I actually like it this way. Ready? Give that slow burn again. Work us into this Marvel universe mayhem, right? The angst. I mean, in episode 4, the start of it, it's like, remember what happened. And I didn't mean to do that snap on purpose. I just thought, but it hits you, and it's like, remember everything that we just built? It's still here. Like it's that like the way it's and so I think it was a nice slow build back into it. Like basically, like when you're getting in a pool, you dip your toes in, then you get up to your ankle,
Yeah.
you go up to your knees. I think that's kind of how it was. I look back and I like it, but during the moments, I wanted to get to something. It was almost like anticipation in the build. So maybe it worked out exactly how they wanted it. Now that I'm talking about it out loud.
Maybe I personally still stand by my viewpoint of I wasn't crazy about them just kind of resting on the fact that it's a Marvel show for the first 2 episodes. But again, I I think that this episode 4, was so effective in finally hooking me into the show
Mm-hmm.
that now I get what they were doing. I almost wish that the scenarios that they were in, maybe within that world, were more interesting to me. Like episode 1, Vision's trying to impress his boss. My issue is I don't really care about this boss. Vision's a
Yeah.
robot and he's dead. Why does
Mm-hmm.
he need the boss? So for me, it just wasn't really working as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I almost wish that they had the kid episode 1, were parenting in episode 2, and then like in or maybe even episode 2 or 3,
Mm-hmm.
we get some more of this parenting stuff. Maybe she gets pregnant in episode 1, has the kids in episode 2, whatever.
Yeah.
There's no stakes in the first 2 episodes. That's my thing. And once the kids are born and we find out someone knows who they actually are,
Mm-hmm.
that's when things get a little bit exciting.
Yeah.
So for me, watching something without any stakes aside from like me wondering, ooh, I wonder where we're going, that's where I get a little bit But I will say this: in episode 1, towards the end of the dinner with his boss, you do have that really, really, really
That
terrifying moment where the boss is choking and his wife is repeatedly saying, "Stop it, stop it, stop it" to Wanda, which
yeah.
terrifies me.
Oh, it gave me chills again because like
I just got chills thinking about
it was It was so creepy, and to this moment, we don't really have an answer for it.
I have a theory as to what that was
Ooh,
about,
I'm
though.
excited.
So my ultimate theory for the show is that Wanda actually isn't in control of all this.
Mm-hmm.
I theorize that I'm always going to refer to this actress as this role, but I refuse to right now. 1 second while I pull up her name. On Google, she's listed as Nosy Neighbor, which I think is so foul. Her name's Agnes in the show, though.
Agnes, yeah.
Catherine, is it Catherine Hahn?
Han, yeah.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn. The number 1, she's listed 3rd on IMDb, which is like, whoa.
Big role. That's a big. I mean, she's been in every single episode. She's the only, besides Vision and Wanda, she's the only other cast member who's been in every episode.
And I think she is ultimately one of 2 big bads of the show.
Yeah.
I think she's a witch. There's a certain character from the comic books whose name I don't have, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm just not.
It's fine. Yeah. Sean, our friend Sean, who you may have seen on one of the last episodes, he told us about it. Neither of us remember because it's not our forte.
Tweet at him if you want the comic book stuff. He knows more about it. And that's his niche. I think she's the big bad. I think she has either convinced Wanda to make this world and capitalized on her grief, or she's like kind of created this world and let Wanda control it. That way she can keep her in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the boss's wife was doing, and her name is Mrs. Hart. The actual actress's name is Deborah Jo Rupp from That 70s Show. I think she was saying stop it as in please stop whatever this is. We want to leave.
Yeah.
But it's whenever someone acts like that, I think it's a glitch in the
chills
system.
again. Chills again.
So I think,
like when the neighbor cutting through the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that what
It's
you were
like,
just about to say? Like that was
yeah, yeah,
creepy.
yeah,
All
exactly.
those things, and that's what kind of hooked me. I mean, that was episode 3 that he was cutting through because I remember it was in color.
Yes.
But all those things, those creepy moments, even when the guy, which we later find out is the guy one of the sword agents trying to go through a tunnel and come up, but he's like in the beekeeper uniform. At that time, you don't know that, and it's just creepy because you got this guy in a beekeeper, and then Wanda's able to. Well, I mean, I think we all assume it's Wanda doing it. She's able to snap it back and go back in time, right? A
Yeah,
little
and
bit.
I theorize that that man is going to become Swarm, who is a supervillain in Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
whose body is just made up of bees, which is my worst nightmare.
Which
Just
also
throwing that
though
out there.
then goes into my theory of I think the people who go through this barrier because the other person was Rambeau. What was her first name? Monica Rambeau, who in some of the comics isn't she a Captain Marvel? Wasn't she?
I believe she's a Captain Marvel, but
Yeah,
also her has her own
she has powers,
alias.
right? She has some powers at some point in the
I'm going
comics.
to give it to you in just a second. Keep
So
talking.
my theory is people when they travel through whatever whoever's doing this, if it's Agnes kind of making um Wanda create this scenario because it's messing with her mind, whatever. I think that shield and that force is so strong that when you go through it, it messes with your DNA in some sort, and you become a soup or a super person. You get these powers maybe, and maybe you don't realize it right away, but it happens, right? Or maybe it takes time because if that person does become Swarm, if Monica Rambeau does get her powers, how do you explain these people just randomly getting powers? This is a good explanation, and you know what? I'm sold because it just once again emphasizes how strong Wanda is, which we had a taste of it in uh Endgame,
Yes. Oh, by the
right?
way,
So
her other alias is Photon,
Photon. Yeah.
which I'm assuming is what she's actually going to be referred to as.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would be down for that too. I hope that not everyone in the town gets superpowers though. I hope it's just like select few, like
Yeah.
people that pass through.
Yeah. Oh, that would
Um,
be super interesting though if everyone did. I mean, in a
it'd be
sense, I don't
wild.
I don't know. I mean, they would make it work, obviously. They always make it. I mean, and that's the
Well, it
thing,
would be a
right?
Smallville situation.
So this goes back to me just being so optimistic, right? I throughout those first 2 episodes, I think I was like one of the only people in our group where I was like, I mean, wholeheartedly, I had no doubt that this show will work eventually.
I think
Like I
Sean
think
was too. To be fair,
like I have no reason to doubt anything that they're putting out, right? I mean, a movie here or there didn't hit perfectly, wasn't their best, but I mean, they're not best movies. Even their worst, like what would you say the worst movie was in all the Marvel universe?
um,
I know how you feel about Guardians 2.
no, I don't even think it's a bad movie. I think two movies that you can make an argument for as being below average
Mm-hmm.
would be Iron Man 2 and Thor 2.
And then we go to those, and they're still better than most movies you watch. Like they're still good movies. They're just below average, or but they're not bad, right? So when it comes to like them putting out this content and them kind of knowing how to do this, even though they're testing their waters in new areas, TV shows, and with new scenarios, I mean, I have no reason to doubt them yet. I don't have a reason to doubt them. So until they do give me a reason, which will be like a slap in the face, I'm full in, I'm full send, and I'm gonna stay excited. And I am. So like, I mean, we talked about episode 1 with the dinner party. Episode 2 is they have to put on a magic show, which is weird because they're trying not to show their powers, but also do the magic show. And then Vision eats gum, and
Which
it
literally gums up his
jams him. Yeah,
insides.
it jams him up, which I thought was funny because it was such like a '60s type of thing that would it's so zany. Then we get to. I mean, was there any big moments from that episode that you feel like you need to talk about? I
Well,
mean, it
the
was
it's
the
the
moment where
Beekeeper episode.
Oh, that, and then when they're trying to contact her through the radio, which we then find out later, but when you hear a voice through the radio, which was creepy, and the lady cuts herself.
And
I
you see the
wonder,
blood.
I wonder within those moments, Wanda's feeling distress, so then almost everyone who's under the spell is starting to feel pain or something, or trying to snap her out of it. Like maybe it's causing tension within all of them, because like
Maybe.
each of those times, like where she's feeling stressed, like at the dinner party, someone's trying to stop her, like, be like do something, like what do you like, snap out of it, right? So in that moment at the dinner party, she tells Vision like save him. She like comes out and she goes save him. Um, and
And Vision
when
uses his powers in front of people and just goes
yeah,
straight to his throat.
and then within the moment, um, at when she's talking to the lady, she then cuts herself, and it snaps Wanda out of it. It's like a shock to her system again. So I'm wondering, within these episodes and within these things, and then obviously in episode 3, we then get to where Wanda's pregnant, and then her moment of like panic or freak out at that episode is when Marie Rambeau mentions Ultron. And she starts to panic, and then she, I mean, shoves her out of
Hadoukens are out of
the city,
existence.
out of the town. She throws her out of a town. That's how strong it was. But she always has these moments of like clarity almost, and then like bah, like fixes something, like, or like comes to and then snaps back in. So it's, I don't know, it's super strange, and I wonder if there's gonna be a penultimate moment of like something that snaps her out of it, that like releases her from maybe a possible spell that we're looking
I
at
have a
here.
theory.
Ooh, I'm excited. I like the way you said that. I have a theory.
I don't think Vision's making it out of the show alive.
Oh, well, I was just about to ask a question. What is Vision? Is he a Vision? Like, what is,
So,
like, that's the
for
thing. Like,
people who don't
oh
know, and
yeah,
you
I
know this.
forgot. I just remembered.
So, the actor Paul Bettany, who plays Vision, did a promo sit down thing with Elizabeth Olsen, who, by the way, you're not going to comment on this, John. Don't get in trouble. My gosh. I mean, she is wowie, wowie, wowie.
She's a
So,
When we give it to color, right? She's a
oof,
ginger in this show.
yeah,
Ginger representation. We got another one, boys and girls.
love to see it. Love to see it, boys. So,
And girls, Kyle. How dare you?
hey, man. Uh, Paul Bettany mentions that there was an uh, Avengers Endgame post-credit scene that got cut
Okay, now sit down if you're not sitting.
because it's kind of wild. In the post-credit scene, Wanda Maximoff is seen grabbing a body bag, unzipping it, taking it, and it's Vision. Now, that's relevant because Vision at the end of episode 4 is shown to still have the massive dent and hole from when Thanos ripped the Infinity Stone out of his skull.
And he's gray and just like lifeless.
No pupils.
Dude, it's terrifying. Like, another moment that gave me chills. That's the thing about this. They've done really good at giving me chills here.
Yeah.
Okay, I've had a lot of chills throughout this show, but it's such a shocking moment. I mean, Wanda's shocked, and it's just like, oh crap, which then makes me think: is there just this lifeless body walking around? Can other people see this lifeless body, or is like, what's going on here? Or is like this charade so strong?
I think it's so strong. I think that Wanda was under duress again, and that's why she saw him the way he actually is. But for the most part, I don't think anyone can see him in that way. I think they see him as we see him during the episodes.
And now here's my other thing. Like, what's controlling him? Like, what's making him move and live? That's the thing. There's so many questions, and that's what makes me so gosh darn excited. Like,
Yeah.
And now that it's like we hit these moments of, now we have the outside world. We know what Sword's trying to do to figure out what the hell's going on here. We have the inside world. Now here's the thing. Oh, well, I guess it really doesn't matter. I think it was just a connection. I was gonna say the FBI thing, where they're like, we're looking for someone, and they just disappeared, and now no one knows their name. Like, no one knows who I was talking about. I was wondering, like, do we think that person's important, or is it just a nobody? But I think that that was just a way to connect the sword to this incident that's happening, almost.
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that.
Right? Like, because I don't, I'm starting to think, because, like, if it's the FBI looking for it, it's obviously not someone with powers necessarily. It might have just been a person in, what's it called? Witness protection, like they said. Um, so it may have just been someone who lived there that they placed there in witness protection. They're just checking in on. And then, but if that person's missing, that's still strange. I don't know. I just feel like there might be something with that.
Well, a couple things though. Could the witness is no Wanda's not in witness protection. That's a dumb idea. Never mind.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Do you think
I don't know how they'd play that in.
they haven't named? They haven't given the name, correct?
No, he just said there was a guy in. I think he specified that was a guy in witness protection. I might be wrong about that.
So, what that could be leading to is something I wanted to bring up next. So at the end of this episode, we get Agent Rambo saying, "It's Wanda. It's all Wanda." I referenced earlier that I think it's actually Agnes or Agnes.
It's Agnes. I'm pretty sure.
Agnes.
Agnes. Yeah.
I think Agnes is not alone. Agnes mentions her husband early on in the show, who she says is always sleeping. I don't think her husband's a normal person. I think, well, number one, I think her husband is actually being played by the actor who played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Russell. No. Oh my God. Oh crap! What's his name? Oh my God, he's the one from AHS.
Right now.
So
yeah,
strange.
I don't know why I can't find his name anywhere. I'm starting to get a little bit pissed, folks.
It's all right, I'll find it faster. American Horror Story.
Evan Peters.
God, I love him. I have like an actor crush on him. He's a great actor.
Massive leap in his career, by the way. If you saw him early in his career, when he was the guy who used to talk like this in movies and in Even Stevens, it was the weirdest.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to beat that weird, he played that character twice. To go from that, like I'm the wacky guy in the show,
guys. I think we know what needs to happen next. We need to get Kyle on that American Horror Story train. I mean, that's a series. That's a conversation for the future. But I love Evan Peters. I'm a huge Evan Peters fan. And you know what? This would all make sense. If he is someone with powers, the reason he's sleeping, what if he's the force field? What if he's so focused, he can't move, he has to
here's
just
the big reason.
We broke it down. Sorry for ruining the show for everyone else, but we did it.
Well, we said we're doing theorizing. I think he's playing Mephisto, who is basically the devil.
He would make a good one because he's so like he could be so like he's good at doing like stone and creepy. I mean, there's one season where he's basically he's a supporter of a past president. It was during the time of his election, and he was like an extremist, and he plays like this role where he goes null of emotion in certain scenes, and he's a good actor, man. He's a good actor.
Yeah, because he's listed on Google as an actor on the show, but he is nowhere on IMDb.
Well, now I know why he hasn't been in American Horror Story the last 2 seasons.
That would make sense.
Disney was like, "Oh, here's the bag."
Yeah, if he's playing this character, that's a massive bag. I'm pretty sure that Sean was explaining to me yesterday that character is the reason why in the comic books right now, I think Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson are no longer dating. Huh, they don't even know who each other are because of that character.
Because of the devil.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're going.
Oh,
I don't think Wanda is the villain.
I'm so excited. This is oh man. No, I don't think so
but
too.
In
and
saying that, John,
that would be very interesting though, that they take one of their heroes and make him into a villain, because we haven't seen that yet, really.
In this universe, in the Marvel universe, no. But in saying that, I do think I want to bring up this tweet that I shared with you guys. this take I saw from Roxy Stryer, who is a former Collider personality and currently doing her own thing on YouTube. I'm actually a big fan of hers. She does really good stuff. Go check her out if you like commentary live streams. So she tweeted out, "Oh man, definitely my least favorite episode of WandaVision so far," referring to episode 4. "Really wish this wasn't the direction they were going in." Someone tweeted back at her saying, "What direction is that?" And then she said, "The quote, I'm a crazy woman, end quote, direction. When a woman can't handle loss, women are crazy and are willing to create a whole alternate reality. It's just tired at this point. I get it. Society thinks women are emotional, blah, blah, blah." Now, look, John and I are not women, so we cannot speak to the gravity of that trope. And I get it. I do get where she's coming from. I just personally don't think that's the direction that they're going. That's just my belief. And at the same time, I don't necessarily have too big of an issue with it in this case because it's something that we haven't seen from Marvel before. And I believe that there are direct comic book references to that happening. Now, she also made a good point in saying that she doesn't have to like everything within a comic book. And by the way, if she doesn't like it and that's the direction they're going, or anyone listening to this doesn't like it, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's a subjective sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hopefully,
and
you can
and
still
it's
enjoy the rest of the show.
yeah,
But it's totally understandable, like especially because if that's beat over you your whole life, like if you are a woman,
yeah,
that's
that's
all you
gotta suck, yeah,
see,
for sure.
like it has to be disappointing, especially when you've had strong women characters in the Marvel universe, and now they're like going to this trope that's just.
And to be fair to her, Wanda's her favorite character in the Marvel
So it
Cinematic
would be
Universe.
very disheartening. So let's hope that Agnes is and
God, I think that's so much more
Manifesto.
interesting, right? If they
Oh
do
god,
go that route
that
with
would be
Agnes.
so good, especially because I mean, and I mean, we may have broke the code, but this might be the route. Like, this might be the route due to the fact that, like, we know that in the comics, this is a character. Her husband, who we haven't seen yet, it has a character, has a big name actor playing it.
I think that's who he is. I think that's who
Okay.
he is. He hasn't been his character name on Google is not listed,
So interesting.
so it
This is
has to be.
there's so many layers. I'm so excited. But yeah, no, I mean, I hope they don't just, obviously stick that, but I guess we'll see. Right? We'll see.
Yeah,
And with that said, it's just so exciting that Marvel's in TV now, man. I'm so
yeah.
happy. And with that in mind, are you happy with what we've seen so far with how Marvel's executing the TV game?
Yes, because it's one of the things I really, really dislike in any type of media is when the creatives behind it don't have a plan. I really dislike that. And when you have shows like, uh, was Game of Thrones like this? You guys were saying the other day where they kind of deviated from everything to try and please the fans
They
at all.
switched up directors, and those directors didn't have a plan for how they were going to end the show.
Gotcha.
They got two directors for the last season, probably the most important season, and they just completely destroyed it. But that's the thing, like, I have so much faith, and it scares me that I have this much faith because I'm afraid they'll eventually get complacent. But I don't see that because it's such a money machine. I think they know they can't get complacent with what they're doing.
I mean, here's the way you should look at it. If they haven't gotten complacent in a decade,
It's true.
and they're always bringing in fresh guys to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm
And
a young up and coming director, if I have the opportunity to direct a Marvel property,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to squander that.
But then also, I like that they have people in place where they're like, this is the overarching story. Like, you need to fit within this. Like, we have plans of where we're going. Here's a general outline of what we want you to do. But when you get in there, you could do what you want. But here's a general outline.
Within the context of where the story's going to go, yes.
Exactly. I think we need those big, broad bullet points that they come out with, and then have like the directors and these like maybe the new people, they could fill in their smaller bullet points. but these big bullet points that you have to stick to, right? So we could hit this point in the story, and we're not pulling a Star Wars messing it up. We're not pulling a Game of Thrones. We're not pulling
a DC universe route.
yeah, like we don't just jump around, do whatever we want. Each director gets their own say in things, like, because then it messes up the magic of this overarching. And I think Disney's the best place for that, like where they could fix it. Now, obviously, they messed up with the Star Wars trilogy.
Different department though.
That's true.
Kevin Feige, who is now at Star Wars, which is nice and exciting.
Yeah.
But at the time, I think it was just Kathleen Kennedy, and I feel like she just really wasn't doing what Feige does in terms of this is where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
In a decade, this is where we're going to be.
And
we need to hit every year this point.
It's like the old saying of, like, when writers write, you don't start with a title, right? Like you start with an ending point and you write towards that, right? You want to know where you're going.
Or you start with with something you want within a story, like a specific scene.
Mm-hmm.
I want a movie with a scene where two mob bosses decide whether or not they're going to go to war. Whatever. And then you just branch out from there. To just kind of go, all right, well, we started something. I don't know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just fly by the seat of our pants. It's hard to do in media. And again, those franchises that we've referred to, I don't want to crap on them because they have their fans.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we're
whoa, forget that. Yeah, we're fans.
We're fans. I mean, we're still gonna watch everything.
What I mean by that is people who still like
the diehard, the people who ride with and defend them to this day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We're fans where we could see, like, if you're gonna make a mistake, we're gonna call you out because we are fans. Like, that's, and I think that's
we want improvement.
Yeah, like, I want it to get back to the way, like, I want it to be great. I want happiness. I mean, it's like anything I'm a fan in life. If they mess up, I'm gonna say, hey, I don't like this.
I don't think anyone realizes how upset I am that the DC universe can't be even like remotely close to as good as the Marvel universe. It's like really upsetting to me because like 3 of my favorite superheroes ever are within DC, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, you can't get it right. But that's besides the point. Although, Snyder's Justice League might be good, who knows? But it's not even canon, and that's like it's like, okay,
still
great,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
So
we got 17 more Batmans coming out. Okay, just hope one of them sticks, and we can run with that.
Yeah, for real. We need a for your stream. We need, like, how you can have like emotes. We need, for every Batman there's been, we need a new Batman Pog. Like we have just different Batman Pogs. But yeah, with that being said, what about you? Do you like where they're at in the TV space?
I'm so excited. And I think it goes back to, like, as we said in a previous podcast, we talked about them trying different things. I want to see different things. I'm excited. This builds my excitement for the other properties they have coming out. What is it? The Captain America Winter Soldier, right? Isn't
Winter Soldier and the Falcon?
Yeah, Winter Soldier and Falcon.
But I do have a question.
We got Loki. What's up?
Do you want things set up in television to affect the movies? Do you think that's fair to the average moviegoer?
Ooh. Okay, look, you know what? I could say it like this. I think there should be things that happen in TV shows that connect to the movies, in the sense of, like, when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, that little small tidbit was from the TV show. But I think so far they've done well where even each movie is almost a standalone, except for, like, maybe the big Avenger mashup ones. But even with those,
you have like the Avengers movies rather.
Mm-hmm.
Thor Ragnarok, Civil War.
But isn't there an argument that with any of those you could just watch those movies out of nowhere and probably still kind of understand it? And
no, you'll still be fine. But I'm saying those movies do have moments that lead into other movies.
Yes, and I think I don't mind if that still happens with the TV. Like, if these shows lead into maybe the character arc for this character, like, for instance, obviously Wanda's going to end up somewhere, and then if we see her in a movie again, the reason she's where she is because of this show. I think that's totally acceptable, right? Um, Now if someone gains their power and becomes a big bad for like a next Avengers movie, and you're just like, wait, this person built up just out of nowhere, and it leads to a show, maybe that could get a little tricky. But I don't mind it. I mean, so far that once again, going back to what I've been saying, they haven't done anything wrong yet. I don't necessarily know if they'll do it in the TV space with it not being able to be a standalone or the next movies being able to be a standalone type of thing.
Yeah, for me, while I personally don't mind it, I love consequential storytelling. I say it all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I do. I can't help but think about the person who is not. I mean, it's a privilege that you and I have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We are fortunate enough to be able to live in a time period where we can do this, be able to afford this, because not everyone can. Some people,
Mm-hmm.
their treat is going to a Marvel movie uh, at some point in the year, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I do tend to think about those people once in a while in these types of situations.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do think with where the internet's at, you can at least read up on this stuff if you wanted to. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the same. I understand it. But at the same time, if this is going to be the cinematic universe thing,
I also can't blame Disney
exactly.
necessarily because it's a marketing thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's if you're invested in Marvel and you want to know the inner workings, you're gonna get Disney Plus so you can watch this show, right? Same, like I want to watch Mando, I want to watch this show, so I found a way to get Disney Plus. I got it. Um,
Yeah.
so with that, I wouldn't mind it, and I mean, personally, I would love it. I want it to happen, right? Personally, I would feel bad, but like, I want like this story to lead into a movie, to like, and the movies to lead into the TV. Like, I want it
Because
all
it
to be in a
makes things
rhyme.
mean more.
Yeah, and it builds like just like we had the last decade. It builds this tension over time of like, oh my god, something crazy is gonna happen, a crazy storyline, and it helps build characters that maybe don't need a movie, right? So maybe characters that can't use a whole movie, maybe they work better in TV shows, backgrounds of characters, like maybe smaller superheroes, maybe smaller villains that would then feed and help a bigger villain or a bigger superhero that you can't really give a background story to in a movie. You give a background story to in a TV show because you got a little more time. You could build them up a little more. So with that type of stuff, I wouldn't mind. I'd kind of like it. Um, but yeah, I'm just excited. I mean, this whole conversation just got me so much more excited for the rest of this season and all the other stuff coming out. I cannot wait.
Same here. You know, it's funny. I mentioned at the beginning of the pod, I was like, oh, maybe it's not going to be as long. The conversation led it to
Yeah,
be the usual length, I'm pretty sure.
that's the thing. And I was thinking about it. 2 weeks from now, we have another pod that we need to do. That's only 2 episodes. So I was hoping, I'm like, hey man, I hope these are meaty episodes again.
Because
So
then
we
we could just
could,
do that. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And if
Um,
not, we'll see
we
what
always
want
figure
to,
something out.
yeah, we'll see what we
Maybe
want to
I'll have to
discuss.
binge watch Bachelor.
Oh, you know what? So here's what we'll do. If the next two episodes are not meaty enough to discuss,
Mm-hmm.
here's what we can do. John will watch the first episode of The Bachelor, just the first one, and give his impressions of a show that I am quickly becoming a fan of. Even though this last episode got really toxic, I don't support a lot of the views that were expressed in that episode. I want to say that girl and Geek do not support those views as well. So worst case scenario, John will watch one episode of The Bachelor with Punkbox. She got to be there. I need a woman's viewpoint on this. Um, Especially a woman of color. I need her. There's one scene in particular I want her to be like, oh, because that's where I was like, oh, what is happening right now? But so that's worst case scenario. That's what we'll do. And I think that about does it for this episode.
Yeah,
I gotta
man.
be honest. I think this was kind of a banger. So if you like this episode and you're watching on the YouTube, I think it's earned a like. Not deserved. I think it earned its like.
Smash the like and subscribe.
Everybody on YouTube, smash up in the comments. Yeah, we'll get super cringe on,
I'm
on
sweating.
this.
I'm now sweating after that.
I don't know how those guys do it all day. Like, just,
Uh,
hey guys, right now I'm gonna go buy a Ferrari and crash it into the Grand Canyon. Smash up on the like button if you want me to not die. You know, it's like that type of stuff. I can never bring that energy all throughout a video. But again, leave it a like if you're listening to this on a podcast app. If you could give us a positive review, 5 stars, 5 stars, that'd be so helpful. Also, leaving like a comment or whatever helps boost the algorithm. We're going to
Hmm.
be honest, it helps us reach more people. And speaking of reaching more people, if you're a listener to the podcast, and I checked our numbers out yesterday, John, there's people we don't know listening and watching. There has to
Yeah,
be. There
always.
has to be.
There's people out there.
If that's the case, thank you so much,
Yeah, we
genuinely. And
we really
not
appreciate
playing
it.
games, that's awesome. But if you are into the pod, share it with your friends. Let them know that
Hmm.
there are these two sweaty nerds who just kind of sweat on their microphones and sweat about the content that they like.
Look, we embrace one thing here around here, and it's getting sweaty and nerdy about. I mean, we started this whole podcast about anything sweaty and nerdy we enjoyed, right? We kind of narrowed it into TV shows. We found a lane that we enjoy doing. Um, but we are sweaty and we like to embrace sweaty and nerdy. So if you know people, maybe they're closet sweaty and nerdy people, break them out of that shell. Just be like, hey, check out these two guys, right? Maybe they'll enjoy it too. Maybe then you'll have a new friend to talk sweaty and nerdy with. And as always, Kyle, where can the people find you?
If you want to talk sweaty and nerdy with me, you can find me on Twitter at Buff Charmander and Instagram, same thing. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/geeksweekly. We have a bunch of stuff over there. Check it out. By the way, real quick, we just we had a video hit 10K views for the first time a week or two ago, which was like, I was pogging out. We're close to 300 subscribers. If we hit the 300 subscriber mark, Sean and I will be releasing a co-produced video of our top 10 favorite superhero movies. So if you're listening to this and are not subscribed, please go do so, because as soon as we hit that 300, we will be putting out that video, and it's pretty fun. Really hard to narrow down, but though, by the way. And if we do that, John, I want you to list your top 10 on a pod at one point after that, just because
Sounds
I
good.
think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Oh god, that's so
And
much stress. I'm already. Ooh, that's nerve wracking. Just putting that out there into the internet is scary.
mhm. Yeah, and John, where can the people find you and interact with you live? Maybe.
As always, you could head on over to twitch.tv/Ginger Gaming, or go on Twitch, search Ginger Gaming. You could hear me, Kyle, a bunch of our other friends act like idiots, have fun, talk trash to each other, and just joke around and generally have a good time. Even if you're not into video games, I love having a conversation over there. Even if you want to come over and talk about anything, I'm down to just talk, right? I love talking. I do it for a living, not this, but I do it for a living, and then I do it here too. I just love to talk. So stop on by. And then same thing, Twitter, Ginger Gorilla with that underscore in the end. You can search Ginger Gorilla Gaming. It will show up there too. On Instagram, Ginger Gorilla Gaming. I'm now on TikTok, Ginger Gorilla Gaming. Basically, you find the logo, and it's me. So check it all out. And once again, guys, thank you everyone for watching, listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you in 2 weeks from now. Peace out,
See you next
everybody.
time, everybody.